All right, welcome back. I realized that I forgot to talk about other trades that happened yesterday, so I'm just going to continue this video, and this will be the last video of the trades and trade deadline. So Michael Granlund was acquired by the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for a second-round pick in 2023. So for the Predators are obviously going to be sellers at the deadline, whereas the Penguins are trying to compete for one of the last two wild card spots. So it'll be interesting to see how this trade pans out. A trade that kind of shocked me, but I guess there was speculation that the Red Wings were potentially going to be looking at trading out Bertuzzi. No, not Todd. Tyler. I believe he's his nephew, if not mistaken. So if I can pull up his picture here. Holy cow, come on. There we go. So the Boston Bruins acquired Tyler Bertuzzi from the Red Wings in exchange for a first-round pick in 2024 and a fourth-round pick in 2025. So for the Red Wings, even though they are trying to compete for a playoff spot, the Bruins are obviously a lock-in at the number one spot. So trade almost makes sense, I guess, for the Bruins, I guess, to just add on to their depth. Now another trade that happened with a fairly big name guy, and I actually went too far. What happened between the Arizona Coyotes and the Columbus Blue Jackets? Well, I should have just kept it where it is. Jacob Voracek, basically at this point, his career is basically over. It's sad to say. The guy's only 33, 34 years old. The trade went down as they acquired the contract of Jacob Voracek, a sixth-round pick in 2023 from the Blue Jackets in exchange for goaltender John Gillies. And now another trade that happened. So we discussed earlier how the LA Kings and the Columbus Blue Jackets basically traded goalies, and how Jonathan Cook, to say the least, was not too impressed about how that went down. He didn't have the greatest season, as I discussed in the previous video. I said he did have a good enough year, but he was the backup. He was struggling, but he was a franchise goaltender, and I mean he got them two cups in 2012 and 2014. So even if you just had him as a backup in LA, since they are in a playoff spot, it was just mind blowing to me. So now Columbus traded him to Vegas. So this trade's really backfired on the Kings, as obviously Vegas is now a division rival, and they're both competing for that number one spot. So imagine if Vegas and LA happen to play in like the second round of the playoffs, how much of an FU that would be for the Kings if they had to go up against their former goaltender. A minor trade between the Blackhawks and the Buffalo Sabres is Anders Bjork was acquired from the Blackhawks in exchange for future considerations. Another trade between the Arizona Coyotes and another NHL team, as we are going to pull up. Let's see if I can get this on the right spot. Perfect. Who's the very top one at the ledger. Nick Bjugstad was acquired by the Edmonton Oilers in exchange for defenseman Michael Kesserling and a third-round pick in 2023. The Oilers are obviously competing for a top three spot, or even a worst-case scenario, a wildcard spot, so they are definitely buyers when it came to the trade deadline this year. Will the addition of this veteran man help them push over the edge and get them back into the conference final, or better yet, a Stanley Cup final? Only time will tell. A minor trade between the Anaheim Ducks and the Chicago Blackhawks, with Dylan Sikura heading to Anaheim in exchange for forward Maxime Golod. A trade between the Dallas Stars and the Chicago Blackhawks took place as, let's see if I can pull the big name, Max Domi, who's been bouncing around the league since he left for Arizona. He's now been acquired from Chicago and heading to Dallas, along with goaltender Dylan Wells, in exchange for Anton Khudobin and a second-round pick in 2025. So Dallas is obviously competing for a playoff spot. They're in the top three in their division. If I'm not mistaken, they might even be in the first place in their division. So it's a huge move on their part, adding a top six guy in Domi, who could potentially help the team in scoring and lead them to the promised land. Only time will tell. St. Louis and Detroit were involved in the trade in yesterday's trade deadline. Jacob Vrana is coming over from the Detroit Red Wings, and he's joining the Blues group in exchange for Dylan McLaughlin and a seventh-round pick in 2025. Now, obviously, the Blues aren't going to be competing for a playoff spot this year, but maybe next year, since he's still under contract, he can potentially produce the way he did back in Washington. He didn't really play as well as in Detroit, but only time will tell to see how he fares out. New Jersey Devils were just a little active yesterday on the trade deadline as they acquired Curtis Lazar from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for a 4th-round pick in 2024. A bottom 6 guy. I mean, he's not that old. He's only 27, 28 years old, so he has a little bit of veteran experience, I guess you could say, but obviously he knows his role. He's not going to be a top 6 guy. He's not going to put up 30, 40 goals a season. To this date, I don't even think he has 40 goals in his career, so just a veteran guy, you could say, adding to that stacked New Jersey team. Trade between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Los Angeles Kings had, I'm sure, a few people scratching their heads, as Brandon Lemieux is now heading into Philadelphia. He was obviously on a contending team in LA, and Philadelphia is basically on the bottom of the scale when it comes to competing, as they're obviously going to be competing for a decent draft pick this upcoming season. Here's how the trade went down. So Flyers acquired Brandon Lemieux, a 5th-round pick in 2024, and the Los Angeles Kings got Zach McEwen, basically a bottom 6 guy. So you just traded 2 bottom 6 guys for one another. Obviously, one guy's going to a competitive team, the other one's not so much. So how will Brandon Lemieux fare under John Tortorella? Only time will tell. The Los Angeles Kings made a minor trade with the Montreal Canadiens. They got Nate Schnarr from the Canadiens in exchange for defenseman Frederick Allard. And the last big trade happened between 3 teams, actually. And where can I find him? Nick Bonino is heading back to Pittsburgh, as he obviously won a couple cups there in 2016 and 2017. So here's how the trade fully went down. The Penguins acquired Bonino from the Sharks in a 3-team deal, which also included Montreal. San Jose acquired undrafted defenseman Arvid Hendrickson, a 5th-round pick in 2024, and a 7th-round pick in 2023 from Pittsburgh. The Canadiens acquired defenseman Tony Sund and a 5th-round pick in the 2024 draft from the Sharks. So I do believe as of right now, I'm all caught up on all the trades. And as I said in my previous videos, I'll be continuing my coverage of after teams have hit the 60-game mark, the 70-game mark, and the 82-game mark. And going forward, I'll be previewing the playoffs as well. So thank you all for watching. Until next time, take care.